After I've read the first book of the New Sun, Shadow of the Torture, I was excited to continue. Now I've read the second book, The Claw of the Conciliator, and now I'm hooked. This book is a mythological science fantasy book with high spiritual value, high level intellectually, culturally, of symbolism, of allegories that dates back to Christian stories, to other mythological stories, to, I would say, high cultural value from the ancient Greece, for example. There is so much food for thought that you will be able to have this as a life lesson for you, a life-changing book even, and also maybe lessons you can teach other. And there are many reasons for that. And one reason is that the narrator in this book, which is, of course, the author is Wolfe, but the narrator is Severian, the protagonist. He is part in the beginning of the book of something called the Torturers Guild, where he is expelled from because he fell in love with a prisoner. Instead of getting punished, we could say, to simplify it, he gets a task to go to a city called Thrax, and with doing that, he has a sword called Terminus, and he also later gets something called Claw of the Conciliator. During his journey here, he will meet a lot of people, a lot of strange people, weird people, a lot of people that seems maybe more symbolic in nature, which enhances the story of being very spiritual, because the focus is not maybe on the journey, where he goes, whom he meets, but rather the messages he gets. And the unreliable narrator of Severian makes it hard to know what you should believe or not believe in this book. There is also the fact that the book has been translated in many times, and because of that, because this is an ancient book, the words are missing for what the translator is trying to describe. So if we would make this very simple, if we read about a horse in this book, maybe it's not a horse, maybe it's some other kind of creature, animal, or monster, we don't know, but the words are lacking to be able to describe what really happens in this book, and that in itself creates this mysterious and spiritual vibe. Because if you really think about it, also spiritual literature, like the Bible, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhist sutras, you can name more, of course. They have this sense of, even if they are God-sent, the scriptures, if you believe that, there is a kind of unreliability. Is this something we should believe in or not? And if it wouldn't be a question, a riddle, a mystery, the religious text, then maybe it wouldn't be called faith, I suppose, because if we have a faith, we believe. If we know, we know. And I think this book really frames that kind of feeling, that kind of sentiment and attitude. So the meaning is, you could say, in constant flux. It's always changing, either to Severian himself, because he is quite confused in a way, and also the characters in meet. I don't know if they know what they are up to. The prose of Wolfe is very poetic. It's very spiritual and very symbolic. And he uses a lot of short stories. It's short story and short story. As you know, I'm an avid Malazan Book of the Fallen reader, and in an interview with Stephen Erickson, he said he was very inspired by by Dune, for example. But when I read Book of the New Sun, I think that this book, or these books, are more similar to Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fallen. It is a short story. It is plot lines that has been spread out in the book. So you don't know really where you are in the book, but still, because of Severian's, I think, captivating character, and mostly I think of the language, which is mythologically, spiritually captivating, we continue to read. The symbolic language is so strong because it's the words in itself which are heavy, I would say, very heavy. It's Latin, it's Greek, it's Roman, or expressions. You find reference to Argentine mythology even. We have references, I think, to Buddhist and Hindu mythology as well, even though this is very famous for have a Christian framework, and that is, of course, very, very true. But the more I come further into the book, I think it's not so simple. And of course, spirituality is borderless, so to speak. So it can connect to many different kind of faith. So even if you're not interested in Christianity, let's say, as maybe with me, you have a broad spiritual heritage, you might be interested into Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, other kinds of faiths as well. So I think this is very rewarding for you. There are many themes here that is connected to baptism, talking about Christianity, water, rebirth, but rebirth is connected to many religions out there. We have the focus on death, of love, of desire, on duty, on morality, because Severian is not a very likable character, I would say. Actually, the characterization in this book is not the most important thing. I will come back to that soon. Wolfe plays with all this symbolic, and since he ties it into Greek mythology, there is a lot of psychological references here too. So of course, psychology and spirituality is very tied together, very connected. I don't think you can pull them apart or separate them. And I think he does a great job of doing that. He has a very many different ways of storytelling. It's this sci-fi fantasy kind of story with strong mythological elements, but so he has this ordinary way of storytelling, chapter wise. You follow characters, it happens things, there are mysteries and there are riddles, and we get curious on what will happen next. But he also uses theater play, for example, as a way of storytelling. So both in the first and second book there is a focus on theater, and actually one of the chapters is a theater play where you read who is talking, who is on the scene, who is saying what, how the audience reacts, things like that. So he's a very, very skilled writer in that sense. Because of this mythologically and symbolic language, it's so layered. So you find a word. I don't want to say, we can say baptism to make it easy. Even I don't think that's really mentioned as a word, but if it would have been mentioned, you Google on baptism, you start to read about what that is and what it means spiritually. There are so many words like that you find in this book, words you don't know about, I'm sure, because it's archaic terms, old words. There are many oracles mentioned here, for example, many mythological creatures like different nymphs, for example. Dragons are mentioned if you really search for it. So I recommend you to, unfortunately, I recommend you to maybe have your phone beside when you read the book, or maybe the second time around, or if you reread the chapter. Because if you find a word you don't understand, I think you should search for that and see what it means, because that will enhance your understanding. It will slow down your reading for sure, but it will enhance it for you, and you will be drawn into it. He uses a lot of descriptions connected to rituals and it's a very strange blend. It's a genre defined as, the book is defined as sci-fi, maybe sci-fi fantasy, as I said, but I think the deep mythological parts are stronger, and then you have a very superficial story or a description of the characters, because I think they are not so fleshed out. It's like the symbolism is above the plot and the characterization, if you can separate it in that way. Maybe that can be off-putting for some, but for me, that's so intriguing. It gives me those, goosebumps, and I get so excited of really wanting to know more. The more mysterious a book are, the better it is for me, and hopefully maybe for you too. It's difficult to know what they are because they are on this planet. There is a dying sun. Um, and I think deliberately it's made by Gene Wolfe, so as we cannot really know exactly where they are, and that will become more apparent in the later parts of the second book as well. It's like a labyrinth. This is like a labyrinth. So it's a labyrinth for your mind, for your spiritual soul, and I would say just for your understanding of reading. So I think you will develop yourself as a reader by reading this book. So all in all, this was a great read. As you hear, I have a lot of great things planned for this book on the channel. I will be talking to on a Contemplative Reader Jay on his channel with him about the book. We have already made one video about the first book, and also just a general spiritual talk here on this channel. So I'm looking forward to that. I will also compare this book to Malazan Book of the Fallen in a separate video, because I think there are so many similarities when it comes to storytelling and the spiritual depth that it gives you. So if you have read the book, please tell me what you thought. Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts on the book? And of course, if you really enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and all that kind of YouTube jazz, right? So see you soon. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. Bye.